It's time for Daybreak Interactive. Let's ventilate, because I think this particular segment now is good for the emotional regulation of Nigerians who have quite a lot to get off their chest regarding some of the state of affairs in this country. We're talking about an all too familiar issue that emanated back a couple of years ago. How I think some 8 years ago, give or take, during the 2016 era of recession, as part of the federal government's efforts to end the lingering crisis of unpaid workers' salaries and hardship being experienced by many Nigerians, the federal government approved a comprehensive relief package that was designed to salvage the situation through the Central Bank of Nigeria's Special Intervention Fund, which offered affected states soft loans solely for the purpose of paying the backlog of salaries and palliatives to cushion the effect of the hardship in the country experienced by Nigerians as a result of the recession. But of course, we understand now the CBN is saying that some of these states owe close to 300 or just a little over 340 billion now from the bailout funds. And of course, more importantly, is the fact that they have not been able to pay it back, but also most people across some of these states are still being owed their salaries, some of their entitlements, and they've seen very little to no impact whatsoever from that intervention. So have your say on the program this morning regarding what has happened in your state, what you've noted, what some of the gaps are, and what you think needs to be done towards addressing this unending mistrust between the people and the government, especially when it comes to the management of public resources. Give us a call. Rules of engagement: turn down the volume of your TV set, state your name, your location, and go straight to the point. Be concise also with your thoughts this morning, because we'd love to get as many views as possible. The number will be shown on your TV screen in just a moment. Sunday, your take on this one?
Interesting development it has been over the years. The governors, ran to the federal government cap in hand, asking for this bailout. The government, the then federal government, led by President Muhammadu Buhari, looking at the circumstances of the time, oil prices, or rather oil earnings, had dropped to nearly zero for the country. So it meant they were not getting enough money to cover even their overheads. And he understood what that could trigger into some kind of very serious national problem. So they quickly ran to the Central Bank of Nigeria, which of course is usually the lender of last resort. And they came up with some package, soft loan as they were called, to help this government support the payment of salaries at best, just to keep the state rolling until things got better. Some took this money, where workers are yet to find values for them. Some of them are owing teachers who earn the least, by the way, on their ranks, as many as 15 to 20 months of salary. Good morning. We understand we have a caller, your name and where you're calling from. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Leo Bison. I'm calling from Cross River State.
Good morning, Gil from Cross River State. Let us have your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that you people are talking about this thing. Where I want to comment is the oil theft in Niger Delta.
All right, okay. Go ahead.
Please go ahead.
That illegal refineries that these people are building, I don't look at it as being illegal, because the way people are doing it, it's like they have some technical experts that are helping them. Now, if Nigeria as a country cannot refurbish or do well in their refineries, why not improve on those ones that people are doing?
Okay.
Because the way I look at it, even though they are going to siphon the oil from the tips, which is bad.
Okay, can you just go ahead and
if somebody go to the farm in Zamfara State and dig soil and then wash gold and come and sell as gold, is it Is he stealing it? Then if these people were excavating this crude oil by themselves and refine it, it wouldn't have been so bad the way it is. But only that they are going to the silos and then, yes.
Okay, I'm afraid...
and then remove the crude oil which has already been stored.
Right.
That is where I look at it as being bad.
Okay. Thank you most kindly for joining the conversation. Really appreciate your insight on this one. I guess as someone who is from that particular region, it's important that we echo those sentiments as well. But also, let's just be very clear. Even the mining in Zamfara, in Taraba, in other parts of the north are also illegal, and so many of these states have put in executive orders banning it, and people are still getting punished for illegal mining. Hello, good morning. Welcome to the program. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
Yes, my name is Augustine from Ukari, Taraba State.
Good to hear from you, Augustine, this morning. Go ahead.
Yes, I want to talk concerning the bailout.
Yeah.
The bailout form released by government to the governors of the state.
Go ahead, please, Augustine.
Actually, it's a very good policy. But however, the most of this fund is being misappropriated, and then you discover that most of the states are still owing debt that is so high. That means that they've not been utilizing the money very well. So if government will continue to adhere to such policy, then the issue of corruption has to be properly checked. Otherwise, they continue to loot the money and siphon it for their personal use.
Augustine, let's talk about Taraba State specifically. I think Governor Darius was still in charge when those funds were released. But I also understand that during that time, there were so many issues with lecturers at the Taraba State University, for instance, alongside many other issues. Would you say those funds were properly utilized?
Well, when you look at the development, the infrastructural development in Taraba State, to some extent, I would say it's just 50%.
Okay.
Because this money is given to the governors almost like every period of the month, but yet they do not utilize this money properly. If you are talking about the infrastructure development in Taraba State and what was done, that was 8 years of office.
Okay, thank you very much, Augustine, for stopping by. Let us provide a bit more context. The bailout funds are different from the federal account allocation, which you can disburse in any area you want. The bailout was
and I think during the Buhari administration, it was quite clear about
what
the
those
targets,
funds,
salaries, entitlements, and
pensions.
Pensions and things like that. They were not supposed to be building roads and things like that. And they've had to clarify
certainly
over
not going to be enough. And just to also, I understand we have another caller. Good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
I think we've lost our connection.
Oh, sorry.
Another thing, again, just to clarify to our viewers, if you're calling in, please, we will appreciate it if you turn down the volume of your TV set, because the echoing does not help for a smooth conversation. So turn down the volume of your TV set once you have a clear line of connection, and just go ahead with your thoughts. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Welcome to the program. Your name, please, and where you're calling from.
Yeah, my name is Primus Kana. I'm calling from Auchi in Edo State.
Good to hear from you. How is Auchi this morning?
Well, we're doing fine, and
good.
Looking at you.
Good. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, on this issue, I think this is where we should call the issue of integrity to question. Fortunately, all the governors that took these facilities are out of office, which means they have lost their immunity and they can now account for what they have done. Now, let's be serious and get people to now provide details of how this money was spent. Because when in 2015, when President Buhari approved of those loans, there were huge cries of salary, breakdown of law and order here and there. And that money was specifically meant for the payment of entitlements and emoluments, not for infrastructural development. Now, let's maybe we come to questions on the level of investigative journalism for people to take specific stakes and let those people challenge the decisions or the findings of investigative reporters. Then at the end of the day, we'll be able to know how the Nigerian money is going. Now, if you issue a new bailout now, like the palliatives Tinubu has been issuing, there are some insinuations that some of this money are not going to the right direction. There are insinuations that this money and what is used to influence activities in the foreign exchange market. Why not for once we just sit down and look at our books? Who did what? Who did not do what? Why did you do it? You know, it's worrisome. It's worrisome that funds released from the sector are not going down to the grassroots. Earlier on in this on your program, your show, somebody was talking about the inability of local governments to function, and that is the crisis. Where do you have the funds when the second tier that has the third tier as its holding the third tier as its jugular cannot really involve policies that can transform the people?
Just let me pick your mind a bit on this conversation. Do you think we are at a place where we should call back most of these governors to come and at least explain how these funds were used? That's on the one hand. The second question is, should we find ourselves in this condition, and I mean we keep getting in and out of water, what kind of transaction dynamics do you think the federal government should have? Is it a question of give us your payroll so that we disburse straight directly to these beneficiaries? Right. Or should we continue to trust that state government would do the needful? Should we find ourselves in situations like this?
No. If you take a bank loan, hello.
I can hear you. We can hear you.
If you take a bank loan, periodically you make submissions to your bank on how you have progressed with the loan.
The disbursement and all.
Yes, disbursement and all the rest. Now, if you take, for instance, my state right now, Edo State, and we have to know what happened between 2015 and 2019. Funds that came from federal government on this particular line of charge, how were they disbursed? Who are the beneficiaries? What was it used for? I'm sure persons who were active actors within this period are still alive. And should be able to render account. But it's unfortunate that none of this will be done. And we keep crying to the federal government. In 2015, 2016, salary backlog has been cleared. Why should there be salary backlog in 2024?
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense.
It calls to question our level of movement, our ability to go from one stage to the other. The issue, which of the states recently we're still going to do audit. You know, in these modern times and age, you are auditing your staff. You don't go at the beck of call. The government cannot identify the number of persons working in this establishment.
Right.
You know, it shows some certain level of issues. For instance, you remember, I think late last year, we discovered that the IPP, which Buhari thought was cast a stone against corruption, was open to abuse. There were some very level officers who infiltrated into the payroll and a lot of people. So some of these texts, if they are pursued logical conclusion, probably will get out of this quagmire of funds being applied well.
Thank you so much for your very invaluable contribution. Really appreciate your thoughts on this one, and we thank you so much for joining us on the interactive session.
Thank you very much.
Very intelligent contributions there. Poignant issues being addressed, integrity, highlighting the need for data collection if we're auditing our books,
That's
if
right.
our books were open and
why,
transparent.
The question,
all of these things would have been readily available,
and the question beggars,
Nigerians wouldn't be scratching their heads.
Why is it difficult for state governments to even publish periodic audited accounts of the state?
Exactly. We have someone on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
Mr. Aziaka, I'm calling from River State.
Good to hear from you, Mr.
morning.
Aziaka.
Good to hear from you.
River State, Aziaka.
Okay.
River State.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, we can hear you. Please,
Mr. Aziaka. Go ahead.
Sir.
Okay. The issue is this. On the bailout fund. On the bailout fund, can you hear me? Unfortunately, most of the governors who received that money are no longer in office. But nevertheless, they are alive. So the EFCC can swing into action and find out what they did with the money that was given to them. But before that, a question needs to be answered. Are you sure the CBN under Emefiele, Emefiele was the CBN governor then, are you sure the CBN disbursed these monies to those state governors? If they did, if Emefiele did, then EFCC should swing into action and get those former governors to account for how the money was spent. If the money was not disbursed by the CBN, then Emefiele should be made to answer why he did not disburse those money to those governors in those states. That's about the bailout fund. On the crude oil theft in the Niger Delta, my submission is this. During Buhari, it was recommended that modular refinery licenses be given to individuals who can operate it. That up to now, that modular refinery is not operational. If the modular refineries were in operation, those other illegal refineries would have been phased out by now. Since Tinubu is not ready to turn around the government refinery at Port Harcourt, Warri, and Kaduna, respectively, let him now make the modular refineries to be operational with immediate effect. He was very quick to remove fuel subsidy. He is not quick to make sure that the modular refineries get into operations.
Right.
Then, the third solution, from all indications, Nigerian leaders have failed. And since they have failed, we have no option than the military to take over power.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Save the best for last, Mr. Ajiaka. Thank you very much for joining the conversation. Those are his thoughts, even though I don't necessarily think that we are aligned with it, especially on the last point. But of course, the modular refinery thing, I mean, when the initial call, I know, just to situate our conversation, we're not talking about the oil theft. These are just people from the area who have seen the reports and want to comment on it. And you can understand that coming from the Niger Delta, these issues are quite germane. But also, it's very important to note that these are all part of a bigger picture around performance of government. Someone else is on the line. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Your name and where you're calling from, please.
I'm calling from Ekiti. That is my name.
Come again?
I don't want to talk as related to bailout fund. Bailout fund is taken by the governor.
Yes.
The only solution is the FCC, they are there to arrest the past governors or the present governor. Because the way they utilize that money is bad. It's bad. They are the problem in this Nigeria government. They are our problem. That is my submission, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so
very
much for joining
from Otutu, even though we didn't get to your
but Ekiti, very important to point out, it's one of those states that had, this challenge of, settling entitlements, like most Nigerian states, for instance. And yeah, we're talking about the EFCC, we're talking about the ICPC stepping in. This should be a no-brainer, right? These funds were released, and to Mr. Ajaka's point earlier,
exactly, yeah.
if they were not disbursed, why were they not disbursed? Because now the CBN is telling us some 340 billion is still being owed by the states.
All right, we have another caller on the line, Abdul Salisu. Good morning. Where are you calling from?
Good morning,
Rabi Salisu.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Rabiu.
I am calling from Dutema, Kaduna State, Nigeria.
Good morning, Rabiu from Dutema. How is Katsina this morning?
Yes, it's very fine. So, relating to bailout funds.
Go ahead.
Relating to this last administration bailout fund.
Yes.
Or most of the governors are not judicially use the funds that they can assist the poor, especially vulnerable in their state. Especially the governors that they are on the second term. So, originally as a governor, if you look at all the food we are eating, is cultivated in rural areas. And rural areas have already abundant. Even though there is insecurity, which chase a lot of farmers away from the farms. So at the time they got such money, instead they empower rural people. Some of them end up building bridges, building flyovers. It is not significant in the livelihood of the people. So I think if the governor were seen this money is not properly utilized, you shall be incarcerated.
Yeah.
Because it's a public fund. It's the only manager to just to do what is right, the money.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rabi. Appreciate you for calling in. And to his point exactly, there should be some level of accountability, because when the Tinubu administration removed subsidies, we're still not talked about the 5 billion intervention, because some of those states got 2 point something as a first tranche, and then somehow the conversation died a natural death across the country, and it seems like we're repeating the same mistakes over and over again with regards to the federal government intervening to help states out, but then the state governors take some of these funds. Some of them actually get the job done, whilst others, just pilfer it or put it in a different area that is not essentially going to make a difference in the lives of people.
We have another caller on the line. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Daniel from Kogi State.
Good morning, Daniel from Kogi State. Where exactly in Kogi are you calling us from?
From Lokoja.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. Your thoughts, please.
Thank you very much for this issue you are discussing. One of the states that really got this bailout and didn't enjoy it is Kogi State.
Go ahead, please.
And I want to let us know that the fact is Nigeria is not set for this presidential system we are practicing. Because it seems as if the immunity the governor has while in office is much that a detailed investigation into some of the activity while in office is not really possible.
Practicable.
And as soon as they are out of office or even before leaving, whatever it is they have done, they will just look for ways of covering it up before leaving. And so I would suggest that if there is any way of checkmating some of these funds, because it's not just all about this bailout fund. What of the recent
Paris refund
subsidy support that was given to them, Paris refund, Abacha loot, all this money, they all came. How it was used, we even discovered that the case of Kogi is a peculiar one. that some of the money was in one separate account that was not used, and federal government had to withdraw it back. Now we are complaining that civil servants there's backlog of money they are owing them. So our system is the problem. Our presidential system is the problem, and the immunity that is vested in the office of the governor is a matter that is difficult to really treat issues that concern them, even if their actions and activity while in office is not okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate you for calling in on this one. And I'm afraid Daniel's call will be the last call we're going to take for this particular segment. But just to point out that, you know, his point exactly what has happened in Kogi State with Yaya Bello's ongoing legal battles with the EFCC. You have the state government that came immediately after and said, listen, there are no missing funds. And it speaks to what Daniel is talking about, that before the government steps out, it makes efforts to at least attempt a cover-up. Not that we're suggesting that they have covered up something, but you know, for the EFCC to amend those charges and say there is some illegality that connects the 80-something billion naira fraud to the former governor. And now the state government is saying, listen, we run the state, we're telling you nothing was missing. It's just, you know, there's just some foul play over this whole particular issue.
And I think some of the points that have been made by callers is the fact that we need to rethink our disbursement approach. I mean, the World Bank does it. Even the return of the Abacha loan, they tell you conditionalities for return. We have to set condition precedents for the disbursements of this fund. I mean, you can't continue to do the same thing
and expect a
different result. So we need to rethink this intervention program, how it is disbursed, what mechanisms we can put in place to ensure that there are no misapplication or misappropriation, as the case may be. But it's been wonderful talking to you and getting your contributions, and I'm sure that some of the things you have said will resonate with some of the policymakers who are listening to you from home this morning. We would, at this point, take a quick breather. When we return, the show continue. Please don't go away.